times we've shown that we can, score in the red zone, but it's got to be consistently. So that's just me, from my personal view. We got to be consistent, uh, you know, and when we get down there, we got to punch it in regardless. 'Cause, we do all that just to get down there. We don't get in the box. It's like but we trying to get out of that phase, and turn it around and actually put points on the board. But once we get in the red zone, that starts at practice. And like I said, when we get to those situations, we'll be ready. Because we done did it before in practice, so it's nothing new. I want to say it's harder. I mean, it's just being smart. Knowing the situation and down the distance, and actually knowing the defense. That helps you as a receiver. Dictate what you got to do in your route by knowing the covers or knowing dictating where the defender's already going to be at because you know what leverage he's playing or whatnot. But like I said, I wouldn't say it's hard. I just really just playing smarter. Just knowing, like I said, knowing situational downs and knowing what you got to do uh, in that situation. And that's pretty much what I can say on that.
That was Pittsburgh Steelers' Diontae Johnson talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers' struggles in the red zone. They've had some good drives, a lot of good drives, but the red zone efficiency has been lacking tremendously. It's important once you get inside that 20-yard line to get into that end zone. That hasn't been happening as much as it needs to. Pittsburgh Steelers could have had a lot more points in some of these recent games and maybe even won some of these recent games that they did lose if the red zone was more efficient. So how do they do that? Well, part of it is reading the defense. It is more difficult, and I completely would have to disagree about this playing smarter. You have to play smarter, but it is definitely more difficult. It is more condensed. The defense is closer. There's not as much grass to make those plays. So options become very limited, but Kenny Pickett does have to get better at reading the defense, especially in those situations. And that's something that I know he will develop and get better at as time goes on. I understand that, but this is something that the Pittsburgh Steelers are working on this week. They're working on getting that red zone efficiency up there to score more touchdowns. Because going up against the Bengals, if you remember the last game, field goal after field goal, back and forth. We can't have that again. The Pittsburgh Steelers need to be scoring touchdowns. A touchdown is more than a field goal. Everybody knows that. Kenny Pickett knows that. The Pittsburgh Steelers are well aware of that, but that's what we need to see in this next game. I would be really excited, no matter what the outcome is in this game, if I see better red zone efficiency, because I know things are moving in the right direction. And we do have a replacement kicker on the team. We don't have Chris Boswell, Old Faithful, or Chris Boswell. You get him in there and most likely he's going to make that field goal. Matthew Wright, good kicker, but hasn't shown the efficiency that Chris Boswell has had. So that makes things a little more difficult when you're getting up there and trying to make field goals, when you're not able to finish those drives. Will we see a better red zone efficiency in this game against the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday? I sure hope so. Remember, if you want up-to-date Pittsburgh Steelers news, information, analysis, and talk, subscribe right here to our YouTube channel. It really does mean a lot to us, and it does help us to get more and more of this content out there to you. And hit that bell if you want those notifications to be the first to know when we post. And if you haven't seen the story that talks about why we need to keep Kenny Pickett, I go back a little bit in time. I go back to the 1970s, and there's some things in there that might make you look at this Kenny Pickett situation a little differently if you are on the fence or if you're on the side of saying, he's not the guy. He could be. We don't know yet, but he could be. Thanks for watching Steel City News.